Oracle Oriah and Alistair. I'm from the US, he's from the UK, and we are bringing you another delicious cup of cosmic coffee today. And we are very excited about today's topic. And we're going to be talking about becoming superhuman and what does that mean. And we are going to talk about Doctor Strange, a film that we both love. Right before we began the show, Alistair had one of his famous mic drops, and he said, the best way to, no, you say it. I can't say it.
The best way to destroy is to build.
The best way to destroy is to build. I mean, that is incredible. So if you guys are out there right now and you're feeling that there's no way you're going to become superhuman, and there's no way that you are going to be able to advance through this human experience, and you feel that your life is just destructive and you feel destroyed inside, just know that that's a stage, and there's a lot of magic coming, and that there is an ability that you can tap into your higher self and your higher frequencies, that you can have anything you want. You could rebuild your health, you could rebuild your brain, your mind. You can literally become a new human being. So welcome to the new world, and we are your tour guides in our galactic conversation. So today I am spacey, cosmic, and what were you today?
I'm like your 80s Coke dealer from some kind of spaced version of Miami Vice.
I thought it was more like a version of one of the scenes in Guardians of the Galaxy, but I like your version better.
I mean, it could be, like one of these sort of corrupt collectors of magical artifacts.
Yeah. As far as Doctor Strange, so I saw it a long time ago, and I rewatched it again last night. And a lot of people are noticing that when they go back to revisit some of the films that they have watched years ago, it has new meaning to it. You're seeing new things, new symbology. It sounds different. So I got a lot of new information off of Doctor Strange last night. But one thing that stood out was the Oracle. I guess she's the ancient time. What was she called? The ancient wisdom or ancient one?
Ancient one, the sorceress supreme.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely loved her. But a lot of what she says is what I teach. And so I wanted to go deeper into that. And I was talking to Alistair about it. And you actually live in that every day as you're constantly reprogramming yourself. You're in the throes of it right now. You're learning to deconstruct and to kind of like hold time and suspense, like suspend time. Am I correct?
Yeah, that is very true.
And some of you who are curious on what does that mean, so time constructs are like this. If you feel that you have no time, obviously in something you're doing, you're rushing. So then you're going to start to feel rushed, and the time is going to go by you really fast. If you feel that you have plenty of time, obviously time feels like it stands still and it stretches out. And then if you're bored and you feel like time is taking too long, then you're going to see time is taking forever. And then if you feel like you don't have enough time and you can't accomplish your goals in life on a bigger scale, then you feel like time is going so fast. So in order to get control of time, first you have to understand time is a construct and was created by man. So you have to first go back to when there was no time, just seasons and cyclical seasons, basically. You have your 4 seasons or whatever, and that's how people went by time. So now with all the different constructs that we have, people are very confused about time, because some people are aging backwards, some people are aging too fast, some people feel they can't catch their breath, some people feel like time is taking too long, everything's too slow. So it's a personal experience. It's personally how you want to see yourself in your life is how time will show up around you. Time will actually bend to you. So you will actually create time the way you want it. And that's what Dr. Strange was about also, in being he's a timekeeper, right?
Yeah, he's the time stone, isn't he, in his little...
He always had the watches.
Yeah. Wasn't when they connected, like the scene where he takes down the bad guy at the end and he creates that time loop, doesn't he? To imprison the the infinite being, so he
Yeah.
kills him over and over again. I thought that was quite cool. The interesting thing, if I mean, it's funny that you watched Doctor Strange yesterday, because Doctor Strange is like one of my favorites of the Marvel series, and we've been doing a rewatch of the Marvel series. So we hit Doctor Strange like Thursday, Friday, maybe, and then I watched it again the next day because I was like, yeah, this is amazing. And it just struck me how, in the maybe 3 years since I saw it last, because I was already hip to this stuff then, in the 3 years I have astral projected the one time spontaneously. That was fun. So I know I can do it. It's learning
Right.
the techniques. I've experimented with essentially slowing down and speeding up perception of time, and this year time is functioning like a rubber band. So
How
that's
is time for
probably
you right now currently? How's the time constructs going along for you?
it's weird, man, to put it bluntly.
Okay.
There's a few things. It's like in between the week that we did the last show and this show, it has felt simultaneously very slow and very fast, and I'm kind of like being pulled between the two. This afternoon, I went for a shower. I took my towel into the bathroom. I looked round. My towel was not there, and it was where I'd left it, where I picked it up from.
Oh,
So I went and got it again, put it down, looked
that's
round,
that's
and it was back. So this happened twice, and um,
oh.
then yesterday I felt like I was being pulled in all sorts of different directions, physical sensations. Essentially, like my body was being stretched, like being like you would stretch a pair of rubber gloves before you put them on. Higher self stretching out the avatar before fully like inhabiting, or take from that what you will. I don't know. I'm just kind of riffing here,
I
but
really, wow, this is really something. I want to go back to the towel incident.
sure.
Okay, so there's many things that could have been happening there. First of all, definitely, oh God, there's so many things. Okay, so one was obviously the parallel reality, right? Where there was a version of you that went and actually got the towel and came back and forth. And then there was versions of you waking up to that reality and saying, oh, I got the towel already, and then realizing you didn't. And then you have to go back and get it again.
I've been very aware since a very young age of everything happening all at once. So
Ah,
when I would meet people, this is like one of my what is it they call the indigo children, all that kind of those terminologies that I don't really like, but we will
right,
use for the illustrative purposes.
right.
My thing was time and being aware of past, present, infinite possible futures happening all at once, which was kind of like mind overload, really. It was very difficult when forming new relationships with people because you would shake their hand and see their entire life and feel their feelings and be like, oh, crap. So I used to drink a lot and used to smoke a lot to block it out because it was like, like in the X-Men film where Professor X takes those injections so he can walk, but he
Yeah.
can't use his psychokinetic powers.
Yes.
So it was kind of like this. Um, and I remember very clearly sometimes in my teens and then in my 20s when I was presented with a possibility to do something, and then in that moment, I saw the situation play out in about 9, 10 different ways, and then I realized that I was still in that microsecond moment of the perspective of the other person making the decision what to just answer their sentence with. Whereas in my mind, I'd maybe experienced like a few minutes, whereas in the transactional time, there was no gap, which was that was pretty weird. And
So do you consider that a form of, is that a form of projection, you think?
I don't know, because for me, the word projection would mean to exert some sort of will or presence into something. So it's like when we say astral projection, we are taking our consciousness and projecting it out of our body. In terms of projecting inner emotion, we're projecting our emotions and feelings and behaviors onto someone else. In terms of that viewing possibility, I don't see it like that at all. It's like someone showing you a holographic, like those books you used to get. Turn to page 43 if you want to do this, or 72 if you want to do that. And to me, it felt more like that, but seeing it in like a three-dimensional hologram projected into your mind's eye.
And you had this natural ability with no plant medicine journeys or anything. You were able to do this from a young age.
Yeah.
And what year were you born in?
84.
Because there's different beliefs that, different soul groups come together. So like I was born in 73. So there was like souls that came together in that time period, and then your time period, and then, different time periods. It's souls that all have this kind of skill set. Have you run into anybody else like you?
A couple of people, but it's kind of like we're like the X-Men,
Yeah.
we're all good at something different. So for me, it's time, possibility, that kind of thing, and being able. That's just one thing, but I guess like it's kind of like coming out of the closet, I guess, where you don't really talk about these things publicly. Then you go from one end to the other, and you talk about them very publicly. So for me, it's like getting into the hot bath. So you have to excuse me a bit if I'm a bit like.
Is this the first time you're talking about this publicly?
Yeah, publicly, definitely. There's maybe like a few friends that would be aware of this kind of thing. But it was purely because people would come and seek me for counsel, and I would have this natural ability because I'm claircognizant essentially. So there's the kind of the knowing, the subconscious channel, just constantly, bam, bam, feeding anything that I want to know, it comes, and that's fine. But it's also kind of mind blowing as well, because then people come to you for advice, and you don't know them very well, or you could know them very intimately. You just kind of know what to say exactly, but then you kind of have to filter it, because as the humans, we're the lens in front of the light source, so that passes through the lens. Because if you say what comes, so someone asks you a question and then it just comes out of your mouth instantly, that could be a very blunt thing. So you want to make sure that you can process it and put it in such a way so then you kind of look like you're thinking, but you're actually just thinking how to package the information, rather than thinking of what the appropriate thing, what kind of path of guidance is to offer them, because you already know it.
Yes.
It's just like, how do I tell this person this in this best possible way that I'm not going to sound like a sanctimonious know-it-all, and B, they're going to be able to receive the information in such a way that is welcoming and warm, and it doesn't have any of the template on front of it.
That's a really big deal. It's not easy to do at all. And it's kind of a big responsibility to have that skill set, that ability, and the fact that you are using it to help people. Yeah, I can see where you've had to hone in on that. I personally, for me, my skill set is empathic, and my empathic abilities so far, I've only met a couple people with my abilities, because part of it, the reason why it's so extreme, is coming from years and years and decades of trauma. So what happens is it blows the doors wide open, and the survivor in me has these instincts that can read and feel another person's intention at the core level, kind of like a deer. I always related to the deer. I loved Bambi growing up. So a deer knows the intention of the predator, or if it's safe or not safe. It has like this instinct. So that's, I think, where it derives from. But I have this ability since I was born. And the, just like what you said, when you start getting the downloads on the person, it can be so overwhelming. And I feel the same way. I have, when I get downloads on people, and I have to be careful, like not to go into someone's system. Like I've never gone into your system, FYI. I know when to go into someone's system. I have my kind of my, it's under control. Like some people are empaths and they have no control over it, but I have it under control because I've had to. I only now use it for my teaching and my work that I do. That's the only time I use it, unless I have to, because when you go into someone's system at this level, you're going into a universe, you're going into another world. It's like being an IT tech in a computer, and you go into someone's source codes and you start to read what their computer's doing. You go deep into the matrix of that person's connection to themselves. And not only that, since I'm sensory activated, I'm a Taurus, I'm Pleiadian, so I not only am empathic, but I'm sensing and feeling sensory wise. I can feel tightness in the throat or gut wrenching or nauseous. I'll get these different experiences, and I could locate the belief system the person has that is creating that physical malformation. And in the beginning, when I first started to learn how to use this, it was very terrifying. Like I would just freak out, because I was seeing too much and feeling too much, and I didn't know what to do with this information.
Would it be bad for me to say that I can do that as well?
No, but I know you're Arcturian.
That's like the granddaddy of the template. But with the whole thing, the templates are interesting. So in terms of galactic templates, we've been doing been collaborating with someone a lot on this the past week, been digging in for a few people to kind of help them understand themselves a bit better. And galactic templates are, let's have like a real talk. You can have a little comes along the bottom of the screen. Real shit right now.
Okay.
They're not scout badges. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's very important that if you have this, everyone's got something that would be considered magical about them. This is the great lie that we've been told, that everyone is, dumbed down, and there's people out there who have no soul and they're just there to fill out the background. This is all bullshit. Everyone's got magic to them at a very deep level. And if we start to talk about galactic templates, these are blessings that people can have. Blessings, absolute blessings. Shall I just for illustrative purposes? Yeah, it's cool. I can do this. Hang on 1 second. I've got a. All right. Do you want to hear what I've got?
Yes.
Okay. Arcturian, Orion, Syrian, Andromedan, Lyran, Draco, Hydran, and Atlantean.
Wow. Woo!
Do I care? No. I don't give a damn, because what it means to me is it's confirmation that the energy that inhabits our bodies is something that exists outside of time. And in that time, in that span of infinity, with time, the rubber band, all happening at once, what are we going to do? Well, I'm the kind of person that likes new and different experiences, so I'm going to go and check out different things. And I think that people kind of don't really take the time to immerse themselves in understanding what their templates mean. Because just because you've got one thing in your template, you're not going to suddenly go like, oh, I'm so this, but because it's handing over the keys of the car again, which I'm very against. So we could say like our dominant templates in this life, they're things that we've chosen because it's the energy that we need to go through this particular experience. Right. Chances are when we ping out at the end and we're hanging out doing the real cosmic coffee, we'll be conscious of so many more things that we aren't aware of right now because we didn't need them.
Right.
We didn't need to bring them with us. And the thing that concerns me when we talk about templates, not you and I'm saying we as in general speaking, is people keep looking, they keep looking and looking and looking and saying, I'm this, I'm that, and that. And it's like, well, how does this inform your personal truth if you've got a list of templates like a scout, like scout badges, you know, they put them on those sashes. And it's like, da, 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 da. You don't understand that, for example, different templates could been used throughout points in history to allow you to incarnate into a system that might have a higher density or a lower density. This is when we're giving the game away, that we're actually quite, like, you know, down the road with this shit, you know. So, but I guess we have to at some point. There's no sense hiding.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's true. What you can do, for those of you that are just starting out understanding your star system, what Alistair is saying is absolutely correct. You get to a point where you understand your template, you understand your star systems, and you understand the characteristics and skill sets that come with those star systems. And there's a confirmation, and you feel good and you feel complete because you've been seen by your lineage, and you feel like you're not just like spinning out there in outer space, like you have a home base and you feel connected. But what happens, what he's talking about, is you get to this point, you hit this ceiling where then you just stay under this zone where it's just about species, and you just keep hitting that same frequency and you don't go past it. And so Alistair is talking about this stage when you are aware that we are all things, and you're aware that you're an energy being, and that you are a personality essence that is embodying the humanoid form, but you can also have a creature form. You can be many things. So
yeah,
it's not just the species. And what he's talking about is out there with these groups, there's so many Pleiadian and Arcturian and so many different groups. As you start to peruse and read what people are writing, they are hanging their hat on this information as if it is the only thing out there, that you are Pleiadian or Arcturian or Orion. And then you live by that, and then that's your excuse for things. And then, you know, it just becomes another regimen. It becomes another dogma, another doctrine. It becomes another religion. And what we're trying to always share is to expand and have that open, stretchy feeling to where you can be Pleiadian, you can be Arcturian, you can be all these things, and then you don't even have to be any of those things. And it's just what resonates with you in the time, and how are you using it to your best abilities. So I'm glad you clarified that, because I take for granted sometimes, because I talk about this all the time. So when I talk about Pleiadians and all this, you know, I take for granted that people don't really know that you can move past this stage, and you don't have to be stuck in the stage of the the species stage.
well, that's it. It's the templates that you carry that are. I mean, I was describing this the other day too. Think about it. You're making a stew, and you've got the pot. You've got every kind of stew or a curry or something like that has maybe got one or two chief flavors. So like if we were eating meat, which I don't anymore, but if we, you know, so we say we put a big lamb joint in there, that's like the primary flavor. And then you've got all of the little spices, you've got the seasoning, you've got the other vegetables and things that you add to the stew. But fundamentally, you've got a lamb stew, and it's made up of all of these different things. And then you serve it in the bowl, and the presentation of that, how it is given to the person. Right. Presentation of that's this. You know? So everything that goes into that has its place, has its part in the mosaic. You know, if we look at a mosaic from a distance, it can form a beautiful picture, but really it's just coloured tiles. And how many coloured tiles are the same colour, and how many are different, and how many are the shades in between? That to me is the interesting part, because I reeled off like what, 9, 10 things there like a few minutes ago. Who cares? It doesn't matter, you know.
I tell you why I think it's important for people to, along the way in their spiritual journey, to stop off in this section and understand it, because you can be a spiritually advanced human being and never have to know anything about your lineage, your starseed lineage. You don't have to, obviously, right? I don't have to tell anybody that. That's just common sense, that it's up to you if you want. What happens though is it tends to be because we're religiously inclined to worship something or to hold it in high regard, separate from us. So we tend to play into these characters, and then we feel that that's it. That's all there is. And so Alistair has been on this mission to really expose this area, to have people see past this, and to open their mind, and to know that you can have these characteristics, but it doesn't have to define every aspect of your existence, because you're far more than that.
And the other thing as well is, in a lot of these groups, people are being like, oh, I just want to go home, I want to do this, I want to do that. Do you know where home is? Right here in the human heart.
Exactly.
Because if we don't have that together,
yeah,
then we're going to have a bad time.
Right. So you know what's really crazy is our humanoid experience as being human here on Earth is a species. Or humans are a species, just like Pleiadians. We are a species. And so imagine the little Pleiadian kids saying to their mommy and daddy, I want to be, like, I want to find out about my earthling lineage.
Yeah.
Tell me about my earthling lineage. Tell me about the London Bridge. Tell me about Disneyland. Tell me what's going on in Earth. And then the Pleiadian parents say, okay, we'll tell you a little bit, but don't only focus on Earth because you live here in the Pleiades. So that's kind of like, if you know, Earthlings, we forget to understand that we are a species as well. We're living out a life as a species. You may not like what's happening here, but it is a part of your starseed lineage. And if you ignore one part but keep the others, then what point is that? So if you don't like being Syrian, so you say, well, I reject that, I'm not Syrian, and so it's just like, I reject being human. So the point is, it's an inclusive, it's a very open dialogue with yourself, where you can see yourself in all aspects. It's not just one area. And I was telling Alistair off camera, it's a big undertaking. It's a big journey to express this to people who are very interested in their starseed lineage.
But also, there's people that will think that this is crazy.
Yeah. Oh.
Because they can't entertain
the
possibility. Because it's like taking a tablespoon, putting it in the ocean and saying there's no sharks in the ocean because there's none in my spoon.
I just saw a little meme on that.
I think it was a meme, but at the end of the day, we retain these things that are useful. And you know, a lot of people don't believe in a higher being. Again, if we can get past the arrogance of man, so many things become possible.
Yes.
So it becomes infinite. And ultimately, we are all energetic beings on a perpetual journey to attain a level of perfection, so we can merge in harmony with the source energy. And we strip everything away. That's what it's all about.
Isn't it? All frequency and all vibration, matching frequencies, matching vibrations.
That's it. Do you want to? Are we going to go? Sorry, were you going to say something there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we don't vibe with people who are hurting children. That's not our vibration. So we want to vibe with, you know, the higher beings that are holistic and healing the planet and the earth and helping humanity to evolve.
Well, this is it. Because when we talk about if we go back to the templates, I think a really positive use of the templates is you look into them, you see what's there, you read up on the characteristics and go, okay, well, how does this inform how I am or how I've been? Or what can I do that will be of service to others? Because it's just another form of divination, really. If we want to kind of like zoom out from the conversation a minute and we put it on the table with everything else, it's another way of learning why we are the way we are, how we are, and all of this kind of stuff. We put it out there and we look at it and we say, how can I use this knowledge to improve the life of myself to improve the life of the others around me, to be a better person, to do things that will be of service to the world, and to ultimately leave the world better than when I found it. To me, these are like the 5 core fundamental things when we enter into any practice.
It's true. I mean, just knowing I was Pleiadian and seeing and meeting other Pleiadians helped me, because I felt that I wasn't alone in, there's this one characteristic that we have, and I felt more comfortable with myself, is this empathic quality tends to also, because we're very heart-centered, so you tend to go the path of being victimized and abused on this planet. So Pleiadians, although they're well known, a lot of people talk about them, we're the ones that are the most like it's kind of like we're used and abused on this planet, because we're so open and we're so heart-centered, and we just accept the truth in front of us. We just accept people, and we just take people in, and we just want to love, and it's very simple, kind of basic. And a lot of autistic kids are thought to be possibly Pleiadian, because they don't know how to protect themselves. They don't know how to, because they don't understand how people can be harmful to another. So that characteristic has helped me to feel better about the path that I've taken. So that's an example of using it to your advantage and helping you feel good. Like, what's the characteristics that can help you in your personal life feel better about who you are? So I don't feel as bad anymore that like I live this weird, this kind of strange existence where I was abused. Instead, I can see that it's a very common. I've asked so many Pleiadian people who know they're Pleiadian, and I've asked them about this. Each one of them have all the same history. We all have the same past, and it's so crazy how it's so similar. But and then like my Syrian friends are all the same. Like they have this ability to articulate and this ability to analyze and to be very removed and scientific about things and to break things down in very meticulous ways, which is like fascinating. I just love that. So these are all just aspects, like astrology, like anything, numerology.
That's it. We could be doing a podcast about the I Ching, and it would be equally valid. And it's just a different system. Because again, there was a great Alan Watts quote about people using psychedelic compounds to achieve enlightenment, and he said, "It's not the telescope that's important. It's about what you do when you walk away from the telescope." So to me, it's the same thing. It's another way of looking into the. I was talking about this the other day. I've been on a mission the past week, 2 weeks. I've been like a missionary, like going around connecting with so many different people. And I connected with someone in one of the Syrian groups who's a tarot reader, and she's into a lot of like Jewish mysticism and stuff. And we were talking about our kind of stance on things was looking at the light before it hits the prism and splits off. So trying to see what that light is and looking at that before we get into the refractions, because everyone gets so bogged down in the refractions. That's why we're all like at each other's throats all the time over different things in society. So again, it's just like that kind of stepping back, 2 steps back, have a look, take another 2 steps back, have a look. All of this kind of stuff. And again, like, the idea of earth seeds as well, elementals, we didn't even mention the elementals there, all this kind of stuff, this real, like the ancient magic, things that get wrapped up in mythology, things that are storied so they don't get stamped out. They're still in the consciousness, even if it's, in the guise of arts, these kind of things. And our current recorded history only goes back so far. Why is it that they say the pyramids and the Great Plateau of Giza align with Orion's belt, but when they measure it up, it's not, 3000 BC, it's 33,000 BC that they line up? Why is it people aren't having this conversation? Because it breaks the narrative. You get accused of being a pseudo-intellectual or pseudo-archaeologist or pseudo-historian because it challenges that house of cards that has been established over many years, that really doesn't take too much to poke a hole in the side of it and go, actually, there's enough evidence out there to say that there's enough reason to be asking these questions. But we hang on to these narratives so dearly, prevents us from opening our minds. It's like, we're living in a time of radical atheism. This is the biggest lie that we've ever told ourselves, because it closes your mind off to all possibility of anything beyond. And that's kind of looping it back around into Doctor Strange. When he goes into, God, what was the name of the place? The kind of the sanctum that he gets sent to meet the Ancient One, and he's, she presses him, and then he leaves his physical body.
It was in Kathmandu, but I just don't remember the name of the place. Yeah.
And he says something like, we are just random matter. So basically saying it's all random, it's all by chance. And then she's kind of like, is it really? Bam, off you go. You get thrown through this complete shift in perspective. And this is another medium of opening more minds to these possibilities. This is why we have books, is why we have movies, it's why we have certain music, and it's why certain things are banned or certain things are frowned upon in certain countries. Or films are heavily edited to suit certain markets, that the idea of mysticism challenges the very notion of the power structure in that country. But if you make it fantasy, it gets out there. It's like everything I do is in the arts. I don't, if people want to ask, is this real or is this an arts project? And I'd be like, how does it make you feel? That's what's important,
Exactly.
If we get so overt into things, we end up losing some of the enigmatic nature of things, especially when we create. And, there's the wonderful thing about Arcturian templates is there's so much mystery there, because people view this template as a very cold, detached. It's the total opposite. We are warm, goofy truth seekers that are creative, empathic, nurturing, loving. There's this real strong energy of that, and the expressive, meticulous nature of things. People forget that, because they get really focused on, how does this affect me? How is this going to explain my disconnection with my immediate reality? How is this going to explain that? How am I able to keep my ego story going? And then you've got people on the other side of the thing who get hung up on one template so much. I know that whenever you talk about templates, you usually mention about 3 or 4, which kind of form, we can say Pleiades is like, the central pillar. Like for me, Arcturus is the central pillar. But it's the stuff around that is of equal importance, even if there isn't as much of it in there. In some of the other groups that I visit on Facebook, which again, I'm only ever going to mention groups or people by name if it's something good. Otherwise, I'm going to be vague about it. But
good point.
Because I think it's fair, because we should call stuff out, but we should never point the finger, because it's about discussion. But we should always celebrate things that are amazing, so more people can go and check them out. Just purely because we talk about moving beyond duality, and I think it's important to say, if you want to have a galactic conversation that's not about duality, you come to United Starseed Connection. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this thing. And we meet once a week for coffee in the virtual domain to talk about what we've been discovering over the past week.
I want to clarify, this is on Facebook, because we forgot to mention that. We're talking about Facebook groups.
The Facebook group, and maybe over time, if I can keep prodding Oriah, we'll maybe have some other channels as well as we go. But Facebook's good really for now, because it's where most people are. And you want to shine the light where it's going to be seen the most, really. There's no sense being tucked away in some corner of the internet and no one knows what you're doing. But what I was saying, sorry, I'm aware I've been talking for ages, so I
No,
apologize.
you're saying very valuable things. So you're talking about some other groups that are not, you're not very happy with what you're
That was
seeing.
it. So I'm just kind of like saying on the flip side of the template discussion, because we really want to. Templates are there to allow us to connect with our magic, because hooking it into Doctor Strange. Just make sure the thread's still there.
Right.
I was just mentioning that when people get so hung up on a singular template, they might neglect the influences that are present of the other templates. So someone could say they were running a group on X, but actually what they're preaching is Y.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
That's what I was wanted to say,
Yeah,
and that's as
they say
far
that
as
this
I'll.
is about consciousness or uplifting the human evolution, consciousness and frequency. But then the first post is the vibration is so low, and then you read, and everyone's attacking each other.
I know it's. I had to cut ties with someone the other day, which is, you could you put some like maybe like violin music and moving piano
Yeah,
in the
I
background.
know. It's a little unfortunate. I feel kind of bad when that happens, when you have to move on from something.
But unfortunately, and this is where the detachment comes in, because I do advise all people to exercise a degree of detachment, as it's very helpful, because we're energetic beings in a meat suit on a rock flying through space having a laugh.
Right.
So we have to like kind of look after ourselves. The whole debate around masks, a couple of people have been getting really, really immersed in this, and I see them. I see their selves. I see that they are these multi-dimensional, infinite creatures who have become so in opposition to something that through their narrative they are feeding the beast. And I essentially said this: look, come on, you're giving your power away. And it's like, yes, but I'm expressing my opinion, blah, blah, blah. And it's like sometimes, people that call masks a muzzle actually probably should shut up. It's the real irony there. They probably should actually have a muzzle on them, because I'm not interested in what they have to
Wow.
say.
So true.
And I take full disclaimer, that is my personal opinion. It does not reflect the opinions of the group or my co-host. But with this person that I knew, she was misdirecting her energy into this, throwing more coal on this fire that's already pretty big, because that's the point. It's a big, so we're all focused on that. And then we can't connect with the world of Doctor Strange, that's trying to show us that this ancient world. It's like, start reading the Vedas, let's read the Bhagavad Gita. Let's talk about that. This is technically a historical document from a spiritual perspective. Why are we not talking about Vimanas? These ancient flying machines, all of this stuff. That there is so much for it, because it doesn't suit the sensibilities. It doesn't suit this kind of very English-centric notion of the civilized world, which is actually pretty dumbed down and exploitatory. We're separated from our ancient history beyond this cycle of civilization, and we can't connect with the magic anymore. And it makes me really sad.
It's interesting what you're talking about. I just had this talk with someone today on the very same topic about masks, and the exact same thing I was discussing. I said it a little differently, but with the same result. So if you look at Mandela, the African world leader Mandela, so he has single-handedly, for me, been one of my biggest lights in the dark when I was trying to understand how to be free. And his story is so profound. So when he was in jail, for those of you who don't know, so when he was in jail for this long period of time, incarcerated, he discovered his freedom is within. It's not in the confines of his prison. So he mentally emancipated himself from the constriction of humanity and their rules and regulations of what happens on this planet. He literally surrendered into his higher self. one of the most beautiful stories, and well put, and such a beautiful journey that he took. And I have chills just talking about it because it gets me every single time, because that he was proving the exact example of what this mask wearing is all about. And in the US, as you know, we're leading the front in COVID. So everybody has to wear masks the second you walk outside the door. Like, they're even wanting people to wear it in their homes now, if people that are high risk. So
Really?
yeah. So it's got,
Wow.
I mean, because we're just leading the numbers around the world, and all the countries have banned us from traveling to their country. And the US is just, it's the Wild West. We do whatever we want. So people just, they're just doing whatever they want. So it's running rampant. I'm in Los Angeles County, so I'm in Southern California, and Los Angeles and Florida are leading in the US as the highest COVID numbers. And
Oh
because we
man.
have all the beaches, our beaches are packed. And for the summer, everyone's in lockdown. Nobody knows where to go, what to do. There's nothing to do. And so we have to go outside. And it's beautiful out here, so you want to go outside. And so therefore, there's lots of public interaction. And we're a very liberal state, so a lot of people are just wanting to do whatever they want to do. So our Los Angeles County numbers are hundreds of thousands of deaths, and it's just ridiculous, right? Okay, so that all being said, people ask me all the time, do you wear a mask? How do you feel about it, Oriah? What's your take? So this is my take, and this is what I told my friend today that I was speaking to. Number one, I wear a mask in solidarity. I wear a mask like a peace offering, or like a flag stating my location of who I am. So I come in peace. I'm intergalactic. I wear the mask because that is what is happening around me. And if I don't wear the mask, what happens is I go into a warlike mentality. So then I go into duality and I start fighting whether or not the virus is real. So what are real, or that it's not conscious versus conscious? Because there's also that conversation. Is the virus conscious? Is it intelligent? Does it know what it's doing? Is it programmed? Who programmed it? Is it from God? Is it from the devil? What's happening with this virus? So it goes all the way. You can take this conversation as far as you want to go. So how I see it is, I wear the mask because I'm a peaceful human being. That's why I wear it. I wear it because I want to have peace in my interactions with other human beings. It's not because I'm terrified of the virus. Even with people dying, I'm still not terrified with the virus, because I drive these Los Angeles freeways, and my children get in their cars and drive these Los Angeles freeways every day. And on PCH, which is this giant highway that runs alongside the coastline that's right in front of my house, there is an accident every single day. There's one accident a day. Who knows if there's fatalities? We give up. There's people who fall off the cliffs over here when they're viewing the beautiful view. They're on these rocky cliffs and they fall. And there's fire trucks there all the time, hoisting down, beds and bringing another fatality of somebody who died off the cliffs. So what does this all mean? So do we stop going to the cliffs? Do we stop driving in our cars? So this is the same idea. It's the idea of there is a consciousness and an awareness of what you're doing on the planet as a human being. So if you come from anger and warlike, kind of like, I'm going to teach them, I'm going to change the system. Okay, good. However, pay attention to what Mandela did. He couldn't change the prison system. So he couldn't change his environment. He couldn't get out of jail. He couldn't change the way that the warden was acting. He couldn't change the way that the guard was acting or the food he was eating. He literally had to find personal mental emancipation. He had to go into his own peace to exist. And this is the ultimate truth. This is the ultimate realization. So people get the misconception that people who wear masks are a part of the problem of not breaking free. It's the exact opposite. There's many people who are wearing masks that don't believe that the virus is good or bad, that we get the evolution that's happening and we don't even feel we're going to get it. And whether we get it or not, we're already at peace with that. So we're not wearing the mask from fear. We're wearing the mask because we want to live in a peaceful existence.
There's another thing that what you said there is so true. And in the conversation I was having, I said if you believe that the virus is fear, why would you want to spread more fear in the minds of others by A, posting all of this crap online, and B, not at least putting it on when you go in the shops and get on public transport and you're in these confined spaces, because other people are going to be like, oh, you
Because
know.
if you don't wear a mask, what happens is you are saying you can't trust what's going on in the universe and in the globe. You can't trust this planet. You need to stand and fight. You need to be this and be that. Okay, but isn't that also a message of you're afraid of something happening to you? I mean, isn't that redundant? Isn't that you are afraid, so you're going to show your opposition and show that you're not afraid, but in that action you are actually afraid. So you don't understand that when people wear masks, we're not afraid. A lot of us are not afraid. Some people are afraid, you know, they're really afraid. And then other people are not. We're just wearing it so we can have a peaceful moment at the store. We can just go into the store and come out and nobody's going to bother us.
Yeah.
It's just,
And also we can just obviously get away with not paying for stuff because you're wearing a mask. Like, haha.
yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? Like, it can really look very, like, just, it's like a bunch of bank robbers running around. So, like, you don't, like,
especially the summer as well. You go out with your sunglasses on, your mask on. Like it's.
oh, I've seen people head to toe covered. You don't see any ounce of their body showing. Have you seen that yet?
Yeah, I've seen that.
But you know that isn't that just a sign of how they feel on the inside anyway, and they just get an excuse to now be on the outside how they feel on the inside?
Well, this is it, isn't it? This is the whole purpose of this year, particularly, is we get to manifest what is within to without.
Exactly.
You know, and the idea of being in opposition to something to me is just the height of childish petulance, because you aren't then surrendering to, you know, the divine energy and flow of things, and we kind of it's like, you know, standing on the beach shouting at the tide coming in, well, what's going to happen, you know. But also not trusting in yourself, not trusting that everything's happening for a reason, not trusting that there is a shift, thinking that suddenly we're all going to be vaccinated, microchipped, controlled by space lizards masquerading as CEOs is insane, you know. And I'm not just saying. How do we
know, Alistair? How do we know that that's not already what's been happening since day one?
Who cares?
When you were a child, when you were 10 years old and having fun running around and being 10, what about if someone told you there's lizards as leaders that are running your life? How much does that affect you?
I'd kind of like want to make friends with the lizard, really, personally, because I think we should all be friends. No, I mean, let's be frank. Like, the whole idea is a bit weird, but then at the same time, here we are.
Yeah,
discussing these matters.
Isn't it all weird?
Yeah, everything is
weird.
Everything is weird, but again, it comes back to this idea of templates. You analyze it, you look at it, you see how does it affect, how does it inform, and then if your whole mission is about spreading more light in the world, you're not going to do that by spreading darkness. You're not going to do it by spreading fear. You're not going to spend it by doing angry, ranty videos on BitChute for all of those who don't want to be on YouTube. BitChute is a bit of a strange place. I'm not going to lie. I had a look at it, and some angry.
How is it spelled? So I can look it up.
BITCHUTE, and there is some very angry, disturbed people on there.
And is that a social media platform? I've never heard of it.
It's like an alternative to YouTube.
I see.
You know, and again, these are ways that we deny ourselves into the world of Doctor Strange, because you get so mired into your little matrices.
That mired feeling is the entire reason why I started United Starseed Connection group, is because what you just said, that mired feeling. I mean, we can spend an entire show talking only about that feeling of being mired, stuck in the matrix, stuck in the conversation, not pulling yourself out of it so that you can take a break, so you can have fun, so you can learn other things, so you can go into your mystical self. And so that's exactly what you're talking about. you know, I could see where you're very impassioned about teaching people this. I I just got tired. Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. I got tired of the conversation because I had too many of them with too many people in groups for years. Off and on, I've been talking about this topic. And I got so disenchanted and disheartened. So that's why, you know, on one side, I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, but I'm keeping an eye on you. I don't want you to hurt yourself because there
Well,
could come a point where you will just get so fed up with trying to get people to see this. It's worth it, but
the kind of the place, the angle that I'm coming at it from is away from all of these conversations, and we're looking at the universal truths in all things.
so you're approaching it from like a Doctor Strange perspective. Like you're talking about it from the pullback.
Yeah, the pullback, but also none of the magic is overt.
Right. So you stay in your magic while you're communicating. You don't go
exactly.
You don't go head to head.
If I serve you a delicious South Indian fish curry, and you're like, "This is cool, man. This is a really nice South Indian fish curry," and I'll be like, "Thank you." You may or may not ask me, "What's in it?" You might just think this is a delicious thing to have for dinner. That's my angle here, because all of my experiences, all of my perspectives and things that I've learned is what's going into the thing that is served. And it's the thing that's served that's important, and all of that other stuff is left in the cupboard. You'd never know.
And that is why you are on my show, because you saw that that's what I was doing. I was serving. I'm a server. I serve. I'm serving a meal, and the meal that I serve is very unique, and the people who like to decode really understand what I'm doing, and the people who just like to be served, like you said, some people want to know the ingredients list, some people don't care, they just want to enjoy it. So that's the kind of starseeds that come to my group. And that's why I asked you, after talking to you so many times, I asked you if you'd like to join me and have this show, because you not only understood it, but you wanted to continue this legacy and continue this movement and keep sharing it and keep, making it live.
Definitely, I chose to come to the family that I did because it's a very spiritual family. This is how I am carrying on that mantle. It might be in a slightly different direction, but it's the same damn work as far as I'm concerned. It's an honor to do it. Yeah, it's an honor to have, to do this with you.
You just talk to people with elven ears and Star Trek and...
because the thing is I don't care.
Right. And you shouldn't. Alistair, you shouldn't care. There's no reason to care because you're already living your existence. You're enjoying your avatar. You're in your pod and you're already navigating.
I look ridiculous. I'm happy with it. You know.
So do I.
The fact that you're wearing elven ears brings me joy.
Yes, me too.
Because you're living your authentic self. Let's there was a couple of things we'd mentioned in our kind of pre-Facebook messaging that we thought would be good. Because if we could come back to like the idea of kind of time hacking.
Yes.
And then we were going to talk a little bit about the Ho'oponopono as well. So like we were saying about time being just this thing that everything's all happening at once. Something that was really helpful to me, and again, this is something that I teach as well, is the idea of looking at the world as something that breathes. Because we can slow down and speed up our own breath. What are we more relaxed in doing when we're breathing really fast or breathing really slow or breathing evenly? It can depend on the situation, really. In a situation like this, if we're breathing really fast, we're going to have a really bad time. If we're breathing really slow, we might tune out a bit. So we want to find that sweet spot. And if we look at the world as breathing, essentially, the world that we're experiencing, and you and I personally are experiencing, is probably breathing on the slower side. Mm-hmm. The world that people who are consuming their, the TV's on the whole time, the notifications on the phone are going the all time, sharing news articles on Facebook with each other. Their world is probably breathing very fast.
As a matter of fact, let me just ask you, I'm glad you said that. So I'm glad you pointed that out about us breathing and the tempo that we're breathing at. So I'm going to show you how slow I breathe, and then you can also do that. So I breathe like this while I'm listening and talking and we're just interacting. I'm like this. So let's say the starting breath is here. That was a full breath. I could even probably go longer. That was just one breath. That's how slow I breathe. I breathe so slow that it's like I'm sleeping.
That's pretty good, man.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want me to do the same thing? Just
Yes.
arc my
Yeah.
arm over as
Starting breath, and then.
So breathing in, breathing out.
Yeah, kind of like, okay, so how I did it was just a breathing in and breathing out. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So for me, it's about the same, I would say, roughly.
Yeah. That's interesting. I never actually put it to words, and I'm so glad you did, because I've never thought about that. And it's so true. I notice when people are holding their breath or they're breathing too fast, like rapid, and either they'll hold their breath and they won't breathe, or they're like, there's some people watching us right now that are holding their breath for sure. Like right at this moment, there's people checking in and realizing they were holding their breath. And then there's other people that are just breathing really fast, like something's wrong. So I like the idea that you're bringing this to the forefront, because this is very important for people to understand how you're interfacing, how your breathing tells you exactly where your thought patterns are, and how you're interacting with your environment. So perfect, continue. That was awesome.
So the thinking is there, is if we're thinking of ourselves as resonating, essentially, and everything's very neatly packed and all of that, but we want to move up. So we have to observe the processes in this organic thing, because, you know, the world is alive, the universe is conscious, we are expressions of that consciousness. Let's just get some real heavy ideas in there very quickly. And if we look at the world as breathing, so it breathes in, stuff happens, it breathes out, stuff happens in reaction to it. So there's intake, expelling. The space in between the breaths is where the magic can happen, because then you get to see where there's room. Now, I kind of came across this idea in a form of, I think it's called Hazard, reading J.G. Bennett's work, Student of Gurdjieff. And he talks about the similar idea of like looking for the spaces that open, and then you inhabit the space, and then everything kind of reforms around you. So
if you inhabit that space, what happens to your breath is that your breath slows so far down, because in that space there's almost no breath. It's not that you're holding your breath there, like breath doesn't exist. It's just timelessness and it's eternalness. So it's such a peaceful state that by the time your consciousness arrives to this 3D plane, your breath is slowed down so much, because you're in this altered space, this space of openness and it's oneness, singularity. Continue.
But this is it. This is exactly why it's all the same knowledge. We're talking about the same ideas of any spirituality, any religion. It's just this idea of refinement.
Yeah.
But you know, now we want to learn how to make the world more how we wish to experience it. So we can, the thing is there. What we have to be careful of is the idea of upper limiting. I think we spoke about this a while back. That when you kind of go for something new, there's things that try and hang on to you. It's like, oh, I don't like you doing this new thing for XYZ reasons. You're going to stay where you're a familiar supporting actor in the movie where someone else is the star. And if we view moving into the breaths, in the space between the breaths, we kind of breathe, we breathe in, we breathe out, go. There we go. And then suddenly we breathe in, and it's kind of like there's a bit of a recalibration effect. And as we get used to this, there's a bit of pressure, we're stretched, we're compressed.
And that happens when you're taking in a new belief system.
That's it. That's it, very true. Trying something new, a growth base, any kind of growth. And also, there are those who were resonating with us in a previous level that are suddenly going to be like, whoa, what the hell's going on? Something's changed, you know? So there might be an element of people are like, they celebrate and you know, you get elevated even more, and some of them come with you trying new things as well, or they kind of turn in on it and then they realize that now this kind of energetic transaction, you know, doesn't exist anymore, be it family, be it friends, be it colleagues.
Isn't that crazy when that happens?
Sorry?
Isn't that crazy when that happens? You're interacting with people as a certain way, and then you have this realization, your whole paradigm changes, your whole world changes. You go back to communicate to those same people, and you absolutely cannot even see them any further because you're not in that frequency anymore.
Exactly. And this is it's like I was saying, of being like the kind of the missionary. This has been what I've been preaching, like, is that when we talk about a shift in consciousness, when we talk about evolution of humanity, this is what we're talking about, is a resonance, is a frequency, is an expanded state of awareness. Not we're all suddenly going to go bing and then everyone else left thinks we're all dead. This is an insane notion. And what would be great would be if everyone could just kind of tap into that idea that there is the potential for expanded awareness among all peoples and things, but you have to opt into it, you know.
You have to opt into it. That's correct. That's a great way of saying it. You have to opt into it. You have to click that option button that you're interested in expanding to new possibilities. Now, some people will say, when they hear that, they'll say, oh, you mean we're not living in this normal like reality like I thought? You mean we're living in a matrix with reptilians taking over? Is that what you mean, Alistair?
No, it's not what I mean at all. Whereas if you want to believe that, then that's the world you're going to experience, because you'll create.
Isn't that another trap?
You know, are you living in this matrix?
Oh, yeah. As soon as you start bringing in the reptilian agenda and the cabal and you start going there, what happens is you put yourself into now another construct, another form of prison, another circular bubble. So you went from one bubble in exchange for a larger, bigger bubble. So we're trying to say, no bubble. You don't need a bubble. So just get all the constructs out of your system that you don't need any kind of, even if you find out that aliens programmed your brain to believe in bubbles, even if you find that out, do you have a free will choice to create as a creator that there's no bubble? Are you allowed to do that? Even if you found out that there is just one agenda after another in every dimension, that aliens are going to keep you in a bubble where you can't get out. Do you ever get to a point where you say, what about if there's no bubble? And what about if I choose to decide how I want to live? That's the point. That's what you're on a mission to share with people.
That's it, because if the minute that you believe in an us versus them reality, you give someone the keys to the car that you're driving and you say, okay, you can drive the car for me. I consent to that. I don't consent to that.
Right.
And I know you don't consent to that either.
It's a prison mentality.
Everyone that's
Bob Marley said, emancipate your mind.
Exactly. And everyone that's in our inner immediate circles is also of this thinking as well. So it's a good thing. And this brings me to the Ho'oponopono, because this is a perfect way to free ourselves from it. So, and I'd mentioned him in our last show, Daniel Scranton channeling the Arcturian Council. I found a channeler I like.
Good.
Which is good. You know? And like I said, I'd mention him by name because he's doing something good. And there was a message, he does one every day. And he did one about the Arcturian Council, talking about manifestation and the law of attraction and vibrations and all of this kind of stuff. And I thought this is perfect because we're heading into the Lion's Gate. It's a big one this year. We look at the numerology, the 20, 40, the number 8. So I'm going to ask, I've never asked anything of you before, Oriah, but I'm going to ask you to do the Ho'oponopono. I'll do it as well. Let's hold each other accountable. Sometime before Saturday, we'll agree a time over the next few days, because the channeled message that Daniel Scranton had was saying that when you want to manifest something, it should happen within hours, days, weeks at the most. And if it's not happening, it's because you're holding a contradictory vibration within you, and that contradictory vibration is a lack of forgiveness. So the Ho'oponopono, this Hawaiian prayer or spiritual mantra, however we wish to describe it, is a 4-step thing. So we first of all, I'll just read the mantra out. Is I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. You're doing 4 things there: repentance, asking forgiveness, gratitude, and love. And what I'm suggesting that we share with each other and people seeing this video is that we do this for ourselves, in that as we're coming into the Lion's Gate, we're going to take as many pieces of paper as we need, and we're going to write down everything that we've never forgiven ourselves for. Everything. We're not going to share what we write on the paper. I'm going to message you, and I'm going to say, okay, I've done it. And you're going to message me and say, cool, I've done it. And then we're going to write down anything that comes to mind. Let's give ourselves, say, 32 hours from now to just collect, download everything. And we're going to use scrap paper, because once we're done, we're going to set it on fire. We transmute it elementally. And what we're going to do is we're going to read each line aloud to ourselves quietly, and then say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Read the next one. Go through the sheets. Once we've gone through the sheet, look at each one. The ones that no longer have power, cross them out. The ones that still have power, we're going to read them again. And we're going to keep going until everything is crossed off. And then we are going to commit the page to ashes through fire, put metaphorically into the heart of the Syrian star, which is the dog star, the star of creativity, this new creative year that starts every year on the 8th of August. We consensually, through our heart centers, we're going to enter into that. And that's what I'm getting at here.
Beautiful.
Basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've done so much work on myself. I didn't think I had anything, but I did find one area that I've been working on all this last 2 months. So it's good.
That's it. And these things, it can be even the silly little things that we remember about from when we were kids.
Yeah.
It's maybe 8-year-old Al has something that he's not forgiven himself for. Well, this is going to be his chance to let that go, And every one of the selves that we've ever been, we're going to throw all that crap into the heart of the Syrian sun and be free to create and co-create the reality that we discuss and champion so well, just without that extra weight. So
beautiful. Thank you so much, Alistair. That was such a lovely way to end this. And you brought a lot of really beautiful information forward today, like always. But I just really want to thank you for always being so diligent, and you are so unstoppable. And I love that energy, and that is always very inspiring. And there's moments where I get tired because I've been on this journey a long time, and it's like reinvigorating to hear how meticulous you go into these areas. And I appreciate that so much, because I'm like that, and I know what it takes to go into these areas. You have to be it's X-Men level. I know all about it. So thank you so much, Alistair. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. And if you guys have any questions, please comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. And we will see you next week. Until then, namaste. Bye, everyone.